Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg was born on January 3, 2003 in Stockholm, Sweden. She grew up in a family deeply rooted in the arts and academia. Her mother, Malena Ernman, is a celebrated opera singer, and her father, Svante Thunberg, is an actor. Greta's paternal grandfather, Olof Thunberg, was also a notable actor and director. Her family's involvement in the arts likely influenced her ability to communicate effectively and passionately, which became one of her greatest strengths as an activist. Despite her family's artistic background, Greta's interests took a different turn early in her life. At the age of 8, she learned about climate change for the first time and was deeply affected by the knowledge of the environmental crisis. Greta struggled to understand why so little was being done to combat what she saw as an existential threat to humanity. This newfound awareness led to a period of severe depression when she was 11. Greta stopped eating, talking, and lost a significant amount of weight. She was later diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and selective mutism. Her diagnosis, rather than being a setback, became an important aspect of her identity as an activist. Greta has often described her Asperger's as a superpower that helps her focus intensely on the climate crisis without being distracted by other concerns. Her family's support during these challenging times played a crucial role in her recovery and subsequent activism. They adjusted their lifestyle to reduce their carbon footprint, with her mother ceasing international flights and her father becoming a vegetarian. Actions that aligned with Greta's burgeoning commitment to environmentalism. Greta's journey from a concerned teenager to a global icon began with a solitary act of protest. On August 20, 2018, at the age of 15, Greta started skipping school on Fridays to sit outside the Swedish parliament. She held a hand-painted sign that read "Skolstrejk för klimatet," School Strike for Climate, and distributed flyers that explained her strike. Her aim was to demand that the Swedish government meet the carbon emissions target agreed upon in the Paris Agreement. Initially, Greta's protest garnered little attention. She sat alone, reading and contemplating day after day. However, her persistence soon drew the attention of local media and then international outlets. Social media amplified her message, and within weeks, her solitary protest inspired students across the globe to join her. The Fridays for Future movement was born, with students in cities around the world skipping school to demand urgent climate action from their governments. Greta's method of protest was simple but powerful. She spoke plainly and directly, often quoting scientific data to underscore the urgency of the climate crisis. Her speeches were marked by a sense of moral clarity and urgency that resonated with young people and adults alike. In her speech at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in 2018, she famously declared, "You are not mature enough to tell it like it is. Even that burden you leave to us children." As Greta's profile rose, so did the criticism. Her detractors came from various quarters, including political figures, media personalities, and climate change skeptics. Some critics dismissed her as a pawn being manipulated by adults, including her parents and environmental organizations. Others attacked her personally, mocking her appearance and her diagnosis of Asperger syndrome. A recurring theme in the criticism was the notion that she was alarmist and that her demands were unrealistic and economically disruptive. Notable critics included former US President Donald Trump, who sarcastically tweeted that she seemed like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. Similarly, Russian President Vladimir Putin commented that while Greta was a kind and sincere girl, it was wrong to use children and teenagers for extreme positions. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro dismissed her as a brat. Media outlets and commentators also weighed in, some of them in particularly harsh terms. Columnists and pundits from conservative platforms criticized her speeches and questioned the scientific consensus on climate change. They argued that her movement was driven by hysteria rather than reasoned debate, and that the economic implications of her proposed policies would be disastrous. Despite the negativity, Greta remained steadfast. She responded to personal attacks with grace and continued to emphasize the scientific basis of her activism. Her ability to stay focused on the message rather than the noise surrounding it became a hallmark of her public persona. Greta's resilience in the face of such vitriol further solidified her status as a leader among her peers and an icon of the climate movement. Greta Thunberg's campaign has been pivotal in several ways. First and foremost, she succeeded in bringing the climate crisis to the forefront of global consciousness. Before her rise to prominence, climate change was often relegated to the background in political and public discourse. Her activism galvanized millions of young people worldwide, creating an unprecedented level of youth engagement in climate activism. The Fridays for Future movement demonstrated the power of collective action and the ability of young people to influence the global agenda. Furthermore, Greta's campaign underscored the urgency of the climate crisis in a way that resonated across generations. Her speeches, marked by their directness and emotional intensity, helped humanize the abstract concept of climate change. She connected the dots between scientific data and the lived experiences of people around the world, particularly the most vulnerable populations affected by extreme weather events and rising sea levels. In addition to raising awareness, Greta's activism has put pressure on political leaders and institutions to take concrete action. She has spoken at major international forums, including the United Nations Climate Action Summit and the World Economic Forum, where she has called out world leaders for their inaction. Her famous "How Dare You" speech at the UN in 2019 was a scathing indictment of political inertia, and it echoed the frustrations of millions who feel betrayed by their leaders' failure to address the climate emergency. Greta's campaign has also had a significant impact on policy discussions. In various countries, her movement has led to increased political debate about climate policies, the implementation of more stringent environmental regulations, and greater investment in renewable energy. While the journey towards meaningful policy change is ongoing, the discourse has undeniably shifted, thanks in large part to Greta's relentless advocacy. The impact of Greta Thunberg's activism extends far beyond awareness raising. One of the most profound effects has been the empowerment of young people. By taking action, Greta has shown that age is not a barrier to making a difference. Her example has inspired a new generation of activists who are now leading the charge in their communities, organizing strikes, rallies, and campaigns to demand climate justice. Greta's influence can be seen in the proliferation of youth-led climate organizations and initiatives. Groups like Extinction Rebellion Youth, Sunrise Movement in the United States, and similar organizations worldwide have drawn inspiration from her work. These groups have played a crucial role in pushing for ambitious climate policies and holding governments accountable. Another significant impact has been the cultural shift in how climate change is perceived. Greta has helped change the narrative from one of gradual, incremental change to one of urgent, transformative action. Her stark warnings about the future have injected a sense of immediacy into the climate conversation, which has influenced not only public opinion, but also corporate and governmental strategies. Companies are increasingly recognizing the need to adopt sustainable practices, and some have even cited the climate strikes as a reason for changing their policies. On the international stage, Greta's influence is evident in the increased ambition of climate commitments. The Paris Agreement's goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, and preferably to 1.5 degrees, has gained renewed attention. Greta's activism has been a catalyst for nations to revisit their commitments and set more aggressive targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In addition to policy and cultural impacts, Greta's work has also fostered greater scientific literacy about climate change. Her insistence on listening to the science has encouraged more people to educate themselves about the issue. This has led to a better informed public that is more equipped to advocate for effective solutions. Greta Thunberg's journey from a solitary protester to a global symbol of climate activism is a testament to the power of individual action to inspire collective change. Her unwavering dedication, despite facing immense criticism and personal attacks, underscores the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. Greta's campaign has not only raised awareness about the climate crisis, but has also catalyzed a global movement that continues to push for urgent and transformative action. Her legacy is seen in the millions of young people who have found their voice and are demanding a sustainable future. Greta Thunberg has shown that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, one person's commitment to a cause can spark a worldwide movement. Her impact will be felt for generations to come as the fight for climate justice continues. This video is neutral and only focuses on the life and political movement started by Greta Thunberg. They do not express any opinion.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Delving into the Deep for regular updates.